Okay, like with the other drawings, we're starting with the vanishing point, not quite in the center, off a little bit to the left, a little bit up to the left. And we're going to draw some diagonal lines out. This is going to become a railing because what we're going to be making is a view of the city looking out over somebody's terrace. And it's going to be like a modern front porch. So this is going to be glass fencing here, glass walls enclosing the balcony or the terrace. So those double lines that are perfectly horizontal, those ones aren't in perspective. The two lines to the side going to the vanishing point, those are orthogonal lines and they are in perspective. So right now you're drawing the side of the building. That's what you see me drawing here. And it's going to look kind of like a fancy Starbucks with lots of glass, like a glass building itself. And that's the slant where the roof begins on the top there. And this is a modern building, so the angles are a little bit different than what you'd see in like a traditional house. It's a little bit more angular. So these are going to be the window bars. And think of it more like a store, like Starbucks. It looks kind of like that, or a bookstore where it's very open. But there are bars separating the panes of glass, and these bars are kind of thick. Make sure you do parallel lines when you do window bars. So that's a straight up vertical line from the roof to the bottom floor there, that baseboard. And that's the corner of the building that you're seeing. And we're going to let that fencing show through the building because it'll be glass. So it's like you can see right through the corner there. So now I'm measuring the little fence posts on the fenced-in area. I think I'm measuring every 3 centimeters and making a mark there. And then because it is the side that does not go to the vanishing point, it's not in perspective, so they are equal distance apart and they're straight up vertical lines. This side, however, to the right should look more like a train track that's flipped vertically or a sidewalk that's flipped. You're going to have the lines spaced wide apart at first, and then they're going to get closer and closer to the vanishing point. So this is going to be the railing on the top, so it's like a parallel line there. And you can see a little bit of the railing on the other side too. And keep in mind, I'm working with a whiteboard, so I'm going to have places where I'm rubbing out some of the ink with the ruler. You're not going to have that issue. Although if you do notice that you're getting a lot of pencil marks rubbed around the paper, or you're getting silver on your hand, then you might want to put a piece of paper underneath your hand. Okay, so we're going to the floor, and we're going to be measuring it out just like you did on Van Gogh's floor. So you're measuring a centimeter. Every centimeter you're making a mark. And you're going to connect all those little lines to your VP. It's the same exact thing. You have to follow the vanishing point. They do have to align up there. I'm not going to have you draw the texture unless you have the time and want to do that. You do kind of have to eyeball the side that is going off to the left. Or I guess you could measure that too if you wanted. So from this point on, I'm eyeballing it, so I'm just like guesstimating the distance, trying to make it match the one before. And I realized later that because it's a transparent wall there, that I would draw the lines a little bit farther, so I actually went back in later and fixed it. You'll see. And corrected those, extended those lines out a little bit farther until I hit the edge of the building. There we go. It also kind of looks like a ship. So it almost looks like you're on a cruise ship looking out. You could do something similar to that. When you're doing your own perspective drawing, you could do like a view from a cruise ship. And that's where I accidentally wiped out some of my lines. I'm just reinforcing those. Okay, so this is primarily the building itself. I think I was just dropping that line a little bit lower. There, yeah. So you can see it wrap around the corner. A little bit of a baseboard. And now you're going to put in a VP2 to the left of the VP you put in, a tiny bit higher. So that's VP2. You're going to be eliminating that first VP. You don't need that one. So erasing it out. And you'll be using the new VP for the city below. We're placing that VP a little bit higher so it looks like the city is in fact quite a distance below this upper story apartment building. So the city itself is very much like the floating blocks, where you start out with rectangles and you connect the rectangles to the VP. You don't have to draw back very far. In fact, you see me doing this, and I'm like only drawing about halfway there, if that. And then I'm going to start to close off the shape. So the rule is parallel angles here. And rectangles are easy, so that's the nice thing about doing a city. It's pretty easy to do. Erase the lines behind. The building I was looking at had a generator on the top, or this other building structure on top of it, so that's what you're going to see me draw here. Although it looks like I'm doing the windows first. So you can do windows as stripes, you can do them horizontal stripes or vertical, or you can actually draw them as little rectangles. We'll get some variety in here. You're going to have some practice drawing windows. The rules with the side of the windows is different than the front side of the. So the side I'm working on right now, that's the front. The side that's going back to the vanishing point, those windows have to get more skinny as they go towards the vanishing point. Less and less space between them. So here's that second room that's on top of the building. And you're going to draw it as a rectangle sitting right on top of the building, and then you're going to connect it to the vanishing point. There we go. You don't need those cat ears on top. And same thing, you line it up to the VP, connect, and I'm just drawing them a little ways away from the vanishing point. They're short lines, they're not long lines there. Looks like a robot building. But buildings do kind of look blocky. Now you can add more detail and make it more sophisticated. And we are going to be adding lots of windows to these and a little bit more detail. But buildings are blocky. So this rectangle or building we're putting in is overlapped by the first building. We want to get a sense of space by overlapping objects. It's the same exact thing where you're making it into kind of a cube. That's going to become a road back there. So it's like you can see the freeway down from that balcony that's on the left, or like a city street. Now we're going to start to draw buildings on the opposite side of that road that we just drew. So rectangle, rectangle. From the rectangle, go corner to point, and then close off your shape. So here you're drawing in windows, and you're going to draw them a little bit differently. You're going to draw them as vertical lines. Connect the top of the vertical line to the VP2, connect the bottom of the vertical line to VP2. So I'm doing this twice, and this is in time lapse, but I'm trying to divide up the space. It's a little bit hard for me to do it with the whiteboard. I think you can do it even better because I can't really erase my lines between very well. Okay, so here's another building, and it's a bigger building. It's good to get variety. That's one thing that people like to look at when they see art, is they like to get a variety, like to see a variety of heights and shapes, different shapes of shaped windows. It adds interest. So I just split up that building into two buildings, kind of. I did it because it was on the picture, so I thought I would try doing it too. You don't have to split it up, though. You could leave it one big building. Or you could turn that into windows. There's another building across the street from it, and that's what I'm starting to draw now. It's got these funny like towers, but they're square towers sticking straight up. Looks like it's a hospital.